All living organisms must be able to coordinate and show responses to stimuli. We talked about human coordination when we talk about the nervous system, the brain if you like, and when we look at the endocrine system, the hormones. Plants now can do the same. Of course, they don't have a nervous system, but they do have things like hormones, and one hormone it's known as auxin. And this auxin here acts like a hormone to show and coordinate different responses. We are going to see two types of responses, and these responses are known as tropisms. And the two types of responses, or the two types of tropisms that we are going to look in this video, is the phototropism, which is a response in regard to the light, and we have the geotropism, which is a response that has to do with the gravity. Now, the hormone who is responsible for regulating these two responses, these two tropisms, is the auxin. Now, imagine like we have a seed, and here it's the soil. The seed is implanted inside the soil, and we have to wait for a few days for roots and shoots to start growing from it. Now, you will always observe like the roots will grow downwards, whereas the shoot, or the stem if you like, will grow upwards. So the shoot, as we call it, grows towards the light. So it shows positive phototropism. What that means, that because the shoot grows towards the light, in the direction of light, therefore it shows positive phototropism. So these tropisms can have two ways. Either they can be positive or negative. And in this case, we talked about positive phototropism, which is basically growing towards the light. When you show negative phototropism, it's when you are growing away from the light. This happens to the roots, because the roots do not grow towards the light, they grow away from the light, so they show negative phototropism. Now, geotropism, as we said, it can also have like positive and negative responses, and geotropism, it's the response to gravity. So if you are growing towards the direction of gravity, then you are showing a positive geotropism. So in this case, roots, because they are growing downwards, just like gravity, they are showing a positive geotropism. But the shoot, or the stem, because they are growing in the opposite direction of gravity, they are showing a negative geotropism. Now, what is that thing that actually causes the shoot to grow upwards and the roots to grow downwards? This thing is auxins. And now we're going to see more details about how the shoot here, how the auxins will cause the shoot to grow in the direction of light. So in the next part of this video, we're going to discuss about auxins and how they will cause a positive phototropism to the shoot. So let's go now and draw the shoot. Okay, so imagine this is a shoot that is growing. At the top here, you have the tip of the shoot. In the tip, usually here, you have many receptors. These receptors are able to detect light. So as light comes from the sunlight or maybe from an artificial source, the tip can detect the light and create auxins. So this is the tip, okay? And inside the tip, the receptors will create auxins. Now, these auxins will diffuse to the lower part of the shoot and will distribute evenly around, okay? And these are auxins, okay? And auxins will cause the shoot to grow. So as long as the shoot receives light, auxins will be produced in the tip, they will get passed on to the rest of the shoot, and the shoot will grow. So as long as you receive light, you grow. So in this way, the shoot will grow towards the light. Now, in this case here that I explained, the light it's evenly distributed around the tip. So this means that the tip receives the same amount of light in all area. Okay. Now what happens when the shoot receives light only from one side? So imagine that the light comes from this side, and if we separate the shoot into two like parts, and we say that this part here it's in the light, but this part here it's in the shade, then we are going to have a different response. So again, this is the tip here. The tip will have receptors. Okay, these receptors in the light part will receive the light and will start creating auxins. So auxins will start diffusing downwards to the stem. Now this part here in the shade will not receive light, and therefore is not going to make any auxins. So no auxins will be found in this part. Now plants can recognize that this side here, okay, it's in the shade, and therefore there are no auxins here. So auxins that are produced from the light side will move to the shaded side. Okay, so it will create something like that. So even though the shoots, even though the auxins are created on the left side, okay, they will move to the shaded side, okay, to cause this side, which is in the shade, okay, to grow more than the side that is in the light. And why do we need the shaded part to grow more than the lighted part? Well, if you leave that to grow more, it means that eventually the right side is going to grow more, so the whole shoot is going to bend towards the left, or if you like, is going to bend to the direction of light. Therefore now the tip here will be all in the light, receiving equal amount of light in all the surface of the tip. So the plants are able, okay, to bend, okay, by changing the rate of growth in different parts of the shoot, so they can receive the maximum amount of light that they can. And how do we know that the tip here is responsible for the creation of auxins? Well, we know that because if you take a shoot and you cut off the tip, so you are going to have something like that, okay, then you will see that this shoot is not going to grow. That's why we know that the shoot is responsible for creating the auxins, and the auxins are responsible for growing, okay, for growth and for bending. Okay, so the auxins can bend the stem in the direction of light.